Okay. This is a big deal. We have a general plan update. Give the men a microphone. And we are welcoming Matthew Perkins. Did I pronounce that correctly, Matthew?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Matthew, you can roam around if you don't have something in front of you. Roam around, make yourself comfortable.
Thank you.
Talk to everybody. Don't need to just talk to us up here. This matters to everybody to sit.
Got it. Good idea. I'm Matthew Perkins with a problem. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council for indulging a short presentation. Next, please. That includes these three goals. A report out to you on what we've been doing with the general plan update process, especially the general plan update advisory committee. Review some alternatives for the general plan update and then talk about the next steps. We started with the general plan advisory committee. We have these three meetings to overall vision, key issues, and alternatives. Next, please. As stated on the slide, look at vision, guiding principles, vision, like what's the 2050 vision, walk around Marysville, describe what it looks like. Guiding principles are the rules of the road as we develop policy for this general plan. We had a bunch of electronic surveys, really good participation from the broader community with electronic surveys that we'll put out there. We reviewed draft alternatives with the GPAC, General Plan Advisory Committee, and received consensus regarding alternative 1, which you'll see in a minute, with additional discussion regarding East Marysville. We also discussed this with the Planning Commission on July 27th. We went through the draft alternatives, what's in them. There was also general consensus for alternative 1 on the Planning Commission, but with the important additions that you see here on this slide, focus on the downtown and the near term, but will foreclose the possibility of annexation out in the future. Further, make sure to provide design guidance for the historic district and adjacent areas, focus on infrastructure funding for bicycle and pedestrian access in particular, and promote workforce housing, not just like Dan just made the colonel talk about this. So, what are the alternatives? There were 3 of them. Purpose of alternatives is to try to create some contrast between 3 options as a way of deriving input. Often the alternative, the preferred alternative we actually take into the general plan is not just one. It's often a mix of them, or it's one with some important modifications like we heard the GPAC and the Planning Commission suggest. In a nutshell, we have alternative 1, 2, and 3. Alternative 1 contemplates accelerated infill development that's focused downtown. Alternative 2 contemplates reinvestment throughout West Marysville. Alternative 3 has more moderate infill development, plus contemplates annexation of parts of unincorporated Yuba County. The next few slides just present this visually. Alternative 1, alternative 2, alternative 3, with that annexation area. Okay. So that's my presentation. These alternatives are listed before you. I'm here to entertain questions, comments. Ultimately, I'd like to hear some of your preferences among these alternatives or other characteristics that I have failed to include you'd like to see us pursue as part of this general plan. Thank you, Mr.
Matthew, hold on to the microphone. I'm sure you'll have some questions or inputs from the council, but first, we could give people who showed up here in the gallery, there may be someone who has a question or a comment or an input. Anybody want to ask or suggest anything? The gallery, don't be shy. Matthew, let me ask you this. This is the first update we see from the council. What are just going forward. It's a rough culture on that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that question. Next steps include identifying your consensus for a preferred alternative, what we should be focusing on, and then bringing back some kind of policy framework, not a 200-page document letting out all of the individual policies, but a summary of what the key priorities are, what some big policy topics might look like, and try to get consensus on that. After that, we'll draft both the specific plan for the downtown area and the general plan and environmental review, and bring that through the meeting process, including both planning commission and the city council.
Well, just observing this, it's, I'll defer to my colleagues. It's impressive. Councilman Bosa, do you want to comment or question, or maybe we just want to absorb this and come back to another meeting? All I know is I'm looking at alternative number one or two, Phil. This is very attractive. Very attractive. Looks like incredible.
I understand that there's a lot to it. This brief presentation relies, 100 pages of material or something like that, and provides some pretty detailed information, including input from a lot of parties.
Well, perhaps, the Vice Chair, she said, that was excellent. Perhaps you can come back at successive meetings and get more granular on each alternative non-renewals. That would be wonderful. That would be useful for me. And I'm hoping it will be useful for the rest of the citizens. Vice Chair.
Just curious on alternative two. I mean, obviously, very popular. It's reinvestment throughout West Marysville. Then, when you look basically like the map that you're showing here, it's showing infill development, but this has got a huge area of commercial and residential hiding all into one thing. So can you just maybe break that down a little bit into what the ideas are there?
In alternative two specifically? In alternative two? Yeah. So I think the question is, you see this big purple area on the slide that's labeled infill development throughout West Marysville. But that in fact actually has single family areas, and it has some multi-family areas, and it has some commercial areas, and it has some industrial utilities all within that purple area. Yeah. Breaking it down, with a place like Marysville that is essentially built out, we don't typically, and I heard no input through the GPAC or the public, that the idea would be to change the land use care, take the hospital district, and now it's something else in the future. Take a single family preserved residential historic area and say, now we're going to see corner stores everywhere. Basically, we retain the basic character, the basic land uses that we see already present, but to preserve important historic amenities, to preserve and enhance important community amenities like Ellis Lake and the area around Ellis Lake, to enhance and encourage infill development and more activity, more density downtown, so that there's more critical mass of people, disposable income to support more business development, to support additional restaurants and entertainment.
Yeah, so when you're referring to the West Range, when you're talking about the railroad,
yeah, I think I might have made up that geography, but I wanted some way to make everywhere not East Marysville. So
no, that's probably the right terminology. But I was looking at there's some things,
right. Couple few projects could be very catalytic and could encourage maybe underutilized properties that are still developed, but maybe just one story at certain locations. They become multiple stories with housing, maybe commercial properties like with online retail, for example, trends in retail, marketplace, and housing market. There have been those kinds of transitions, not just vacant property, but also properties that are.
You're seeing what the public has to say. So, yeah, so, hold on, so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's appreciate all the work and everything that's gone into it. And I heard some great reports from those meetings. Really great reports that come out of it. It's great to see everybody getting involved in solutions that come of it. Curious, on looking at kind of the definitive, it seems like alternative one really focuses really solely on that downtown medical arts area, and as far as the infilling and redevelopment components, and that's good. It's definitely an immediate need, right? But looking down some of the corridors like 10th Street, 5th Street, where I'm really curious about is kind of additional hybrid. And to be honest with you, I like options, right? And so having the ability to maneuver and not necessarily box ourselves in too much, right? So I'm really interested more in that alternative 3 and the possible annexation, but really taking the vision to it. So I don't know what we're going to do. So I'm anxious to also hear what the developer has to say, but the dig into this a lot more. So what's the next step in our phase?
Well, it sounds like the next step will be to come back, workshops at a study session, and go over the alternatives in more granular detail. I was directed to have a 3-minute presentation, but if we could add 0 to that or something, and we do have quite a lot of input and excellent general plan advisory committee input, so I would think that would be a good thing to share with you all.
Well, thank you. Progress is outstanding. It's great to see. Thanks for that.
And I know this is a big picture presentation, so if I ask something granular, it's not a criticism, it's just curiosity. See all of the development, is there any plan here for support services like, I understand, presumably a great deal of this housing would be related to the hospital and staff, could be other folks too. Hopefully, folks from Beal as development directors who speak for more people to downtown Marysville. Once you have more folks, then you have more restaurants, retail, and probably I don't know that the existing plant supermarkets would be enough for that. I'm certain. What I did have a particular question about is number 2 or number, but I'm thinking about the property of Matthew, you may be familiar with it. It's on East Street. It's both sides of the street between 11th and 12th. And the Yuba County Department of Education owns that. And
I have to yes.
yeah, it's East Street between 11th and 12th, both sides of the street. It used to be a John C. Davis car, and then we got a new name in the city. And I understand from my speaking with Francisco of education, I said, well, how many people are serviced by that huge property? He said, oh, 80 or 90. They might have that many vehicles there. Criticize the presence of the county and the county facilities in there, showing out potential. And it would be interesting to have some consideration of potential development interest, because the facility they have can be located any place in the county. And Marysville ground is precious and few, whereas there's a lot of county out there. And that would be an opportunity for development. It's a huge property, well located, and I'd suggest attention to that. As to the annexation, which I call potential merger with other communities in the future, it's sort of off to the side, out of the future. But if we don't talk about it now, correct? If we don't talk about it now, it's hard to act on an opportunity that might present itself later. Is that correct? I'm talking too fast. I apologize.
It's okay. I'm doing that. That's still a fair question. Yes, I think annexation is typically a very long range set of considerations, pretty complicated. Government administration, finance, et cetera, et cetera. But if that is a possible future, it's better to set up the building blocks for that sort of thing now, if it could be a possible future.
Yeah, it's the kind of situation, if in fact there were such a merger, as I like to call it, of equal communities that would extend all the way down to 2020. And I think about 85% of the population of Yuba County would be in that new entity, and it would change things dramatically. But again, that's just an option to put out there that we don't put it in a 30-year plan now. It can't happen within 30 years. That's the vice chair from Steve.
Just as a general question here, with not participating in any of the committees, so not knowing the broader scope of what we're talking about. One of the problems with Marysville tends, one of the issues we've had for years and years, is that every time we're discussing development tends to be hospitals, community buildings, nonprofits, so many entities that are non-revenue generating, which then doesn't allow us to give the community the services they need. So I guess the question is that at the forefront when you're putting this plan together? I mean, obviously housing is a big one, and there's some property tax, but I mean, to actually have some revenue generating development so we can provide better services. Is that discussed in this?
Yes.
Yes, that's a huge part of our work. It has come up a lot of general plan advisory committee meetings. Both the fiscal and economic side, market feasibility, and that is something that we're thinking a lot about is, okay, what's relatively more competitive by way of revenue generating uses in Marysville in the next 30 years, and what can the city do to enhance the competitiveness of revenue generating uses? So that's, yes, absolutely at the forefront, is germane to the overall discussion.
Thank you.
Stuart?
And by the way, I've been following along. So, until I hear from the public, my initial response is interested in following along with the planning commission tests, as I know that they, on top of this, with the exception of the ability to hybrid, as Councilman does suggest, and then just comment, when doing a general plan, ensure, ways of calculating, this much housing needs to happen in order to generate the income for each services, et cetera, et cetera. And so, formula, I'm going to use whatever it is, for how to calculate what is the most financially feasible direction to go in, given how small our footprint is. And of course, going back to the planning commission, I don't want to use anyone. Back to the planning commission, they have the general consensus. They like the idea of alternative one, which is great. It really is a big focus on the dense area that does have great opportunity now for infill of a new kind. And then it does mention annexation, because you really have to plan ahead, and that's how you handle the county services. Because eventually you'll be annexed with something in the county, and those services can be elsewhere. And so that's part of why you look to do a portion of the annexation, like the planning commission suggests. So, I'm relying on the planning commission and the public. So you can't really hear what they have to say about this.
Actually, we're very serious about this. I would invite again anyone in the gallery that has something to say about what I'd like to do is follow up at each successive meeting. I see someone said at each successive meeting and get a more granular look at each of the alternatives.
Is there a place where we can do these alternatives online?
I think, do we have the handouts? Do we? I think there's handouts.
Are they in this packet?
They're on the web.
It's on the city's website. It's on your website. Yeah, including not just tonight's presentation, but the summary of alternatives, and I think summary of input so far.
Just from city manager something to suggest.
And I've had the opportunity to sit in on the planning commission deliberation as well as committees meetings. And what I'm hearing tonight reverberates with what I've seen come out of those meetings. We have somewhat of a conundrum, a good conundrum, so to speak. We're trying to move forward with improving the city's lot and life while we're planning this general plan. The good news is what I consistently hear from council, from others in the community, are the same type of priorities, which are housing and amenities that go with that housing, revenue production, big discussion on safety, mobility, walkability within, and then with the eye on growth and go off. So we're going to continue to work on the short term and try and deliver housing and revenue producers even while the general plan is going on. But I think the value of this will be how we accomplish that. Specifically, we'll get to where we would accomplish that effectively. So I think we'll see if we really like the mayor's recommendation to have additional presentations in this form so that we can continue to get more and more detail on the process. And I think that's what we're trying to do. I'm very happy to see the direction.
Matthew, if you look over your right shoulder, do you have something to say to us?
Okay, should I stand?
You want?
Please.
I'm Molly Kirkpatrick, resident of Yuba County and a business owner in Marysville. And I've been on the advisory committee, and I would like to say that I really appreciate Matthew's leadership during this process. There were times when I felt like he made my questions sound more intelligent by the way he answered it. That makes any sense at all. He's been very patient with all of us. A bit of curiosity here. I have a question to the council. We don't have to necessarily answer now, but I am curious how much lead time you've had in looking at the packet of alternatives before being asked the questions tonight about how you felt about it. And I asked that question because the last meeting that we had, I can't speak for everyone, but I felt it as an individual, this has nothing to do with you, that I didn't have much lead time to read through and examine what the consequences were of each alternative.
The answer, the answer on lead time, not much.
I was asking more specific than that, but anyway, the point I was trying to make was that the last meeting we had, we were asked if we were ready to vote on an alternative after a period of time. Am I not allowed to talk about that? So all I want to say is that there is a lot to look at, and sometimes when you first see something, you have an opinion about it, and you start to think, well, maybe I need a little thought on that, I need a little more data on that, so I can make a better decision. And so I'm really grateful that the council has brought up tonight, but they need some more time to think about without getting bogged down, because none of us we can get bogged down right here. To keep the forward movement, but still look at some of these details and some of these consequences that might not have been brought up. Not superficial, but more overly type of leaders. So I appreciate that you're taking the time for that. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. You're really doing something every 20 or 30 years. It's okay to take your time and really think about it. And I think that's part of the question that we're on. And that's, I'm certain, you'll want to pass it. Vice Chair, did you want to say?
I just and have a question here, which he just thinks when we're talking about voting on alternative 1, alternative 2, alternative 3, all three of them are fairly specific to different areas, right? So why would we be looking at some type of a choice of picking one area over another? When the idea of the general plan is to cover the whole entire community. Or am I missing something?
You're right. Absolutely, the general plan is to address the entire plan. Absolutely. The nature of the information focused on specific areas has to do with Marysville being built out, and it has to do with land economics, and it has to do with constraints on transportation, and lots of different issues. In particular, if you're looking at those diagrams and you see the purple area, different sizes. One theme we were really trying to drive at in alternative 1 in focusing on infill development, dense, mixed use, high activity development in downtown area and the eastern part of the Medical Arts District is to really take advantage of the catalytic effects that development can have in spurring other development. And really look at incentives, what funding can we attract from outside grants and committees to improve infrastructure in a focused area to really drive and facilitate and speed infill development, compared to a strategy that takes a more laissez-faire approach across the whole of West Marysville, say, we're open for business, but we can't focus on creating incentives for such a broad area.
Well, that sounds that we're rolling the dice, that there's alternative one, drive the rest of the community, there's alternative two, drive the rest of the community, or this. All three alternatives, as I see what you're saying, is covering the whole community, but it's all driven by one area, the alternative, right? Which area do we roll the dice on and say, this one is going to generate more throughout the whole community?
Can I add something to that question?
Sure.
I look at this as a cafeteria. It doesn't have to be one alternative as opposed to another. We can draw from all of these proposals. I think breaking it down into three allows us to see different focused ideas. That doesn't mean we can't pick and choose and do all of the above. Who knows? And before I forget, there's another huge property that is essentially near that East Street property. It's the corner of F and 12th. They didn't do much in terms of economic activity in the community. It was for a song not that long ago. And I'm certain the ownership are making good use of it in terms of good use for the community. That would be something to make that in that area. I look at this as something that we can pick and choose elements from and with the community, together with the community.
I understand. But the way, I'm just asking, the way this is driven to this point with these three alternatives, again, is rolling the dice that one of these is going to generate throughout the whole community. And and it's basically a guess which of the three do we think is going to happen. I agree there, before we get to the end of this, we may be looking at something completely different. But I'm trying to understand the process as we're going along.
You mean to say that, looking at alternative one, for example, it's talking about preserving and enhancing East Marysville. Modest change in and around Ellis Lake and northwest of downtown. Improvements to Riverfront Park, but accelerate infill development in that whole area. What you're saying is, well, that seems like we're really picking the purple area, the small purple area, to really focus city investments, outside investments. We're really focusing on that area. What if the best development concept in the world happens in the blue area? Did we guess wrong? And is our general plan not effective because we have to choose our priority? Is that kind of what you're asking?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
But only because I thought that's what you just said.
Okay, this is complicated.
I'll listen.
Infill development is difficult anywhere, in California especially, with construction costs, labor costs, constraints on labor, any number of issues, tight margins, NIMBY issues, all kinds of things, right? So it takes, you cannot wait for the market, quote unquote, in all situations to get, the results that you want in infill development. It takes a couple of things. It takes a concerted effort thinking about all palatable incentives and disincentives to promote infill development. It requires resources, staffing resources to be focused on infill development, and usually requires spatial focus, because you can't expend all those resources and have enough money for all those incentives throughout the entire city. This is true in my city of Sacramento, where infill development has happened along corridors primarily. The corridors that they called out in the general plan that was developed 10 years ago or so, our street corridor, 15th and 16th Street corridors, was a corridor-focused strategy, and they came up with incentives, and they got SACOG money to build infrastructure and streetscape improvements, and they focused in those areas for infill development first, because there wasn't infinite money to do that everywhere.
Okay, lastly, if we're doing this to be effective, to span through 2050, wouldn't all of these alternatives be something we would look at just maybe first, second, or third?
Great idea.
Right? Did I say that?
Yeah, there's a time element and there's a space. I went over the spatial element, focusing on, one area, but the time element is focus on one area first.
That's my question. Yeah. So it's not like 1, 2, or 3 is two are kicked out, or there's going to be a hybrid. It's going to be more of a focus in a particular spot, and then as we move on through the time frame.
You can see it that way, but as you read the alternatives descriptions in more detail, you will see that there are also character differences along that. It's not just a phasing between alternative 1 and 2. There are some character differences along that, and I don't know if I have it all right. I got a lot of input from the public, a lot of input from the GPAC, input from the planning commission, but I have no monopoly on that is, and people have waited.
But yeah, let's come back to this, and I don't think we're locked into the alternative process. Let's look at each idea separately so that they're digestible. If we try to cover everything in one session, if they do too much, let's do a granular look at alternative 1. Let's then arrange a granular look at the success of unit 2 and then 3. And then we'll come back at the next meeting and we will say, okay, here they all are. And if they were to be sequenced in time, and you have some experience in sequencing, you can suggest a sequence on these elements. And the reason for that sequencing can be funding and the other considerations. And so we look forward to your valuable background and expertise in moving forward. And my fellow councilman and city managers, that sounds like a good push.
Yes, I just want to clarify, so the next meeting we would have a granular approach to all 3 alternatives in one meeting. It may be a longer meeting, I think we could potentially try to minimize the other business that we have so that we can get through it all.
If you can do that, you have a lot of trouble with the agenda. Either that or we do it in 2 or 3 weeks. We'll take a look at it. My instincts tell me that it's going to take one more week.
Okay.
Fabulous. Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks for doing the lifetime mapping.
We're moving to the community consent calendar. Wishing to address the city council concerning consent calendar items or on matters not already on the agenda are allowed to make full comments for 3 minutes. If you would like to comment and we're attending this meeting in person, please complete a speaker's card and return it to the city clerk. When called upon, please go to the podium to address the council. If you're participating via Zoom and would like to speak, please raise your hand via Zoom. When you're called on by the city clerk, the mayor, whether you're here in person or attending via Zoom or called upon, please give your name clearly for audio recording. You are requested to address your comments to the council, not to the audience. By state law, the council is not permitted to undertake any action in discussion on any item not prepared on the list agenda. If you have the documentation you'd like to share with the council, please go to City Clerk 546 Street, Marysville. Let's see, we have any members of the public wishing to comment this evening? Madam Clerk.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Our first speaker will be Judy Mann.
Judy Mann. Welcome, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Hi, my name is Judy Mann. I live at 1117 D Street, where Ellis Lake is my backyard. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members and staff. I come tonight with a problem, but I also come with a solution. The Marysville PK Sister City Association was formed in March 14th in 1986. The two cities agreed to foster peace, understanding, and cooperation with the common bond by exchanging culture, art, and history through visits by both city officials, partnering with teachers and students with a mission to promote our two nations' well-being. Today, I have a wonderful relationship now 36 years. With that being said, on February of 2016, I appeared here in front of the City Council to ask where our sister city sign was. It had disappeared. It had been removed with the construction of the Washington Square project, a sign which proudly stated that Marysville was indeed a sister city. Today, approximately 6 years later, I am in search of my sign again. In 2016, Public Works did kindly replace our lost sign and placed it on the B Street side entrance of Ellis Lake. However, the sign has gone missing. It's common to see many clubs proudly display their signs in entrances to most cities that you visit, coming through so visitors can see that we are affiliated with the city. Today, I've come with a picture, I believe it's being passed around, showing the recent damage and destruction of the signs in question. The sign has been defaced or damaged. I physically have searched the grounds in hopes that I find my sister city sign. I'm hoping Public Works has picked it up. Some of you may remember the Watermark Ellis Lake project, which was accomplished in 2008. A once beautiful entrance where the signs do welcome visitors to our city. The area is a vital entrance to our city, a viewpoint area where now new restaurants have flourished. The visibility and the tackiness of these signs gives them the appearance that we don't care. I stated I came with a problem, but I also stated I have a solution. As president of the Sister City Group, and with approval of my board, I would be willing to take on the position of contacting the other clubs and members affected by the damaged signs, which they might not even be aware of, and I'm hoping that the city will allocate some funding or match some of the club's costs to replace the signs, since they were damaged on the city's property, in the property which the city maintains. I am hoping that the present signs are removed and perhaps new signs can be made and the issue be solved. Thank you for your time, and if I get a call back, I did leave my information. Thank you.
Judy, discussion on the stage. you are in contact with city, folks, public works, and this needs to be brought on.
Go ahead. I will get into the discussion, but Judy, so you know, the city manager and I have already started looking into refurbishing that. We would love your help with any kind of contact you can make, but we just started this conversation 2 weeks ago, being able to try to move forward.
And to add to that, Dan I've asked Dan to start reaching out to homes that have signed. They're helping with placing them, both monetarily and we can keep their information on the sign. What the missing sign was. Very
That's what the picture I passed that before that.
And we had some ideas as well. Perhaps there's an Eagle Scout that could help with the project. Dan.
surplus lands assessor agency to the Yuba City Redevelopment Agency properties. Ms. Langley, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So in 2011, based upon a Supreme Court decision, all redevelopment agencies in California were dissolved as of February 1st, 2012. Prior to that date, City Council declared that the city would be the successor agency to the redevelopment agency, and a long-range property management plan was prepared by Fraser Associates, which basically identified the parcels owned by the successor agency and discussed how those parcels would be disposed of or addressed. In addition to that, we have the Surplus Land Act, which you're familiar with, but I'll go over it. So the government made this disposition of land owned by the successor agency. It was determined to be no longer necessary for the successor agency to use. And in 2019, Governor Newsom signed the law 8466, which significantly expanded the requirements for compliance with the Surplus Land Act. With an intent to address the shortage of affordable housing in California. So what it says is that prior to the sale or lease of any land, the city council must, or in this case, the successor agency must formally declare land as surplus land pursuant to the resolution and supported by written plan. And so the procedural requirements is that the successor agency would issue a notice of availability to a housing sponsor. So if you go to HCD's website, there's a long list of housing sponsors in the state of California. And so we would email the MOA to those housing sponsors, or if they don't provide an email address, they send it via certified mail. Any responding entity, they would submit a notice of intent that they would like to negotiate with the successor agency for the purchase of the property. So they have 60 days to submit that notice. And then once the successor agency receives that notice, we would have an immediate period for efforts to determine if we can come to terms on an agreement for those properties. If no housing sponsors respond to the NOA, or the negotiations terminate, so for instance, if you can't get to, you can ask for up to fair market value. If you have a developer that's not willing to pay that, or you can't come to terms, then you would let HCD know, and they have to review the process and then confirm whether or not you comply with the process. In addition to that, if the negotiations terminate and the land is later sold or leased to a market rate developer, they have to set aside at least 15% of any units over 10 for affordable housing. And if you violate, if HCD reviews your process and determines that you violated the process, then they can
Mr. City Attorney, it's been 50 years.
In a nutshell, cities at one point directly imposed a franchise fee. State did law, says no, we're going to establish city. But our ordinance on board. Doesn't change our fee, which just makes us the same convention.
I understand, I remember the history of this, cities was using a lot of money out of these franchises. The state got jealous and they took most of it. They let them encroach from the cities. And that's the way it is. We've got no way to control it. Some
Just introduce the ordinance tonight.
Okay. That's the presentation. I'm curious now. Comments?
We have no speakers on this item, Mayor.
Public hearing is closed. Members of council, any further questions, comments? If not, Chair, I just want to comment. So there. Primary motion. Which will the council?
I make a motion.
It's just to act as described here. It's not being done. Second, all there. Okay. Last item of public hearing. Section 2.76.010 of the Marysville Municipal Code entitled Purchases. Recommendation. I say motion to 1, introduce the amended ordinance for first reading. 2, set September 6, 2022 for second reading and consideration for adoption. And 3, waive the first and second reading of the ordinance amending Chapter 2.76 of the Marysville Municipal Code. Okay, that's it. And we're back to Mr. City Manager Joseph.
Okay, this is the item that council member Melville was referencing earlier. It has to do with back to your charts. Through the process of purchasing items and procuring public works type project. Yeah, part of the project. We found that the state public contract code has significant restrictions on how we procure things, which was a bit disturbing when we saw it, and it hampered our ability to do things. A few of the examples that staff report was it significantly limited us in the use of staff. So when we're limited, made it almost impossible to use volunteer or service groups, and would not allow for us to purchase materials separately from contractor labor for critical markets.
after doing some research with our council, we found that some states actually allow an exception for charter cities. In looking at Fresno's municipal code, they similarly. So this is what the public contract code requires us to explicitly take exception. So this just adds language in our ordinance that explicitly takes exception to public contract state wise. That's it.
That being said, public hearing is now open for public comment.
No speakers on this item, Mayor.
Public hearing is now closed. Thank you. May I start with the questions, clarifying question? The way I understand it, there's a state code, drives up the cost. It demands extra processes and costs. We experienced all those at Gavin Park, and we could have put 2 wells in place of 1 because of the cost of the extra processes. These processes are
That I would like to clarify that the project I was providing is actually a playground project, attempting, and we had generous offer from Zala to help with the demolition and preparation labor. We intended to use our city staff to provide vision and help with that project. We will hire a contract call, but we intend to purchase the equipment ourselves. That would not have been allowed based on state code. This to do those exact methods.
Any comments, questions from the council?
Just another example, I see, the fence of all things not have been able to done which was we purchased all the material, some we had volunteers from others, putting all the framework out, and then public works putting all the fencing here. And we would not have been able to do that without being in charge of city. Oh, yes.
I do want to make one caveat. I think we got somebody from the state in here. And I'm not trying to say if we have a grant we enter into and we're using grant funding to do a project, we will have to follow the guidelines of the grant. So the grant specifies that the state process or the federal process, then we will still need to follow that. This applies to projects that aren't funded through grants that put restrictions.
I have a question. The process installed. If we were not a chartered city, the state would have required us to not use local volunteer groups and other local agencies to put that stuff together.
The public contract require us to bid any project out.
Oh, got it. Okay. Just one of the church.
And I just like to comment on this, that I think this discovery that our staff have done this, working through the council too, as a council. I think this discovery warrants a little bit larger conversation on a topic that we've got years, I mean, we've been a charter city since our corporation. And we've got years of ordinances and codes that have come down the lines that have been under the guise of state mandates and state requirements, et cetera. And I know it's on to try to, you know, audit what we have, and what is truly, what we can truly do in regards to these ordinances. But we are in the process of going through this plan, which we're going to be able to review ordinances and codes moving into the new outlines of the general plan, and maybe for us to take some time to look at that as more of a suggestion or a recommendation. That these types of things that you say over the last 30, 40 years, the city, lots of funding that we assumed we had to use by going through that process, that we actually didn't have to go down that process and figure out alternative routes. I think it would behoove us to really dig into this and really deeper fashion.
Then section 2.76.010 varies from Missouri Code entitled versus recommendation passed a motion to introduce the amended ordinance, first reading, set September 6, 2022, second reading, and consideration of adoption, and 3, waive the first and second reading of the portions of chapter 2.76 of the American Municipal Code. And those are all the council. Second. And second, all in favor? Aye. We're now moving to the discussion and action calendar. I'll manage this section and that section. Are discussed and will be acted on individual members of the public are requested to speak on any desires for 3 minutes from public comment. If you would like to comment, we would attend in person, please give speakers card and turn that to the city clerk. Some call on the council. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to speak, please raise your hand via Zoom. When it will come upon the city clerk will be muted, will be address the council, will be here. Zoom, please call upon you to make the report. If you have documentation, there's no to city clerk 526 Marysville. First item, the only item in this section, is possible establishment of ad hoc water committee. Recommendation: establish a committee to discuss water and drought issues.
I have now been approached by most every council member considering drought conditions and how it affects the region specifically versus other regions in the state and states mandates for water conservation. We've had enough discussions with my most recent meeting with the mayor that recommending, the mayor recommending that we form a committee, ad hoc committee to discuss and make recommendations to council on broad topic, drought. Convene that committee as long as drought conditions exist. And we'll see how best to handle those issues as community and city. I think part of the issue is we have statewide drought conditions. The city of Marysville not adversely affected by drought conditions. So, the mayor.
Just the presentation. You'll also include, again, include ad hoc committee, which is limited in time. So it will not be in perpetuity, that it will address matters related to habitat drought and also matters related to water service in Marysville. I've been in touch recently with Representative of Carolina. They're kind enough to respond to say this, and I reminded them at a meeting, reminded that person that at a meeting we had the first half of last year with Carolina executives, and they were very forthcoming and helpful in providing information. And I had asked them for they're a public company. They file detailed financial information, securities and exchange commission, as part of maintaining that public franchise. And in any company that is in different lines of business, there's something called line of business reporting. And Marysville's the activity in Marysville is mixed, is blended together with 2 or 3 other communities. Therefore, you can't really pull out of what is reporting in 60 for financial reporting. In terms of to be able to see exactly what is happening in Marysville. What are the revenues? What are the expenses? What are the capital issues? And so I've asked that information, and recently involved in the mix of things that it was never forthcoming. It probably got lost in the shuffle. It managed not, which I've been promised that information. And this may or may not might be something that is forward to whatever committee to establish. So there's the presentation of the topic, and it's open to public comment.
Thank you, Mayor. Our first speaker will be Shannon McGovern.
Welcome, Shannon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Nice to see you all. My name is Shannon McGovern. I'm with the California Water Service. I'm joined here tonight by Mayor Jones, who manages our operations in Marysville, and Anthony Meyer, who manages our drought and conservation efforts in Northern California and is based here in Marysville and has background in operations as well. Just in response to your most recent comments, Mayor, about the information you requested. I did speak to some folks internally after our conversation yesterday, and the information you requested should be in your email. And so when you have an opportunity to review that, and should you require or be interested in additional information, we're happy to provide that. And California Water Service stands ready to participate in this ad hoc committee. We're very happy to provide information on how we are responding to drought conditions in Marysville as it relates to specifics to this community, as well as share with you our response statewide and how Marysville differs from other communities, what some actions other communities have taken, and some recommendations that we have for our customers and the city as a whole in Marysville. So we have substantial resources that and a tremendous amount of industry information that can be brought to bear. And we're very happy to partner with the city, and we'll provide a liaison to serve on whichever ad hoc committee pleases the council and provide any information and partner with you moving forward. And that includes every topic of water that you wish to discuss: drought, conservation, rates, infrastructure and investment, etc.
Remember that race?
Certainly.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Not at this time. Thank you very much. Appreciate it very much.
No further speakers, Mayor.
Okay. Any questions, comments? No, let's just take this step first. Recommendation steps to discuss water and revenues. the committee needs members. So let's start committee first, and then members. Was that, student services, that's what it's saying. Okay, what's the will of the council?
I would be in favor of the establishment of this committee. We need a motion to establish. And I would make a motion to establish the recommendation.
Second.
All second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
That's four, okay. I know it's, let's see, the mayor's to recommend, Mr. City Attorney.
No, this is a piece of paper.
Then, okay. I think it's, we have two members of our council who have deep experience with this issue. And I know they both have a keen interest in this issue. And our strong objection, the point, Vice Mayor Boyd and Councilman Brett to this one. That's that. Now you go on your special action calendar. We move to committee reports. How about you? Councilman Burrell?
We have the reports, Center Economic Development Corporation meetings. I took the offer and to sit as a treasurer. So that's some exciting news. And in their budgeting this year, there's right now there's available for small businesses up to $400,000 for small loans. So promote that and get that word out. Business is struggling right now. There's business loan opportunities. So Brenda Strand, one contact there, and encourage anybody with a small business to reach out to her. The other is our American Business Alliance met yesterday and at a meeting, still trying to continue to promote business growth, business development in Marysville. Marysville is moving forward. So those are my committee reports.
Thank you, sir.
I do not have any reports for tonight's council.
Vice Smith?
No.
Very quickly, please.
Frequency.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor and I are members of that. And very quickly, I'll just run it down. We have worked closely with the water agency. And they provided funding and advisory services to some consultants, very experienced, very knowledgeable consultants on how to make a first approach to solve the water quality issues. And you may recall that there was a carpet removal program, and in the immediate wake of the carpet removal program, I live right on the lake. All of a sudden, I could see the bottom of the lake. It's 4 feet. I could not remember that for many years. And it was very encouraging. And we were also applying chemical agent actually, that captured phosphates. And we take them to the water. The idea was phosphates to come with the well water. That would not come with river water should we need to do it. Phosphates that do come with well water are basically food for algae. in plant growth. And that's what we don't want, particularly the algae. Because the algae makes the lake green for time of year, and then in the fall it dies and it turns brown and it looks like mud. And this is what we're trying to get. Well, the recommendations were followed, and I'm not criticizing. This was the first shot. It was in my iterative in nature. It's a nature scientist. City manager, he's been intimately involved in managing the process, say, very good job, notwithstanding what the lake looks like. And we did learn some things. I can take a picture right now, Shed, to a description of the processes, what we learned, and what our plans are going forward. How we think about it.
So, as the mayor mentioned, we went through two processes based on consultants' recommendations. One was carbon, and the thought process of removing the large population of carbon on the bottom of the lake, place the phosphates in the water. What we've seen, that was very successful. We did not eradicate all along. The second part of the process was the treatment was the phosphate that would capture the phosphates and render them useless. We treated that in springtime, and the phosphate levels were down fairly low, so the dose that we applied in spring was fairly. Unfortunately, they did not get out and test the water regularly. By the time we got results, the phosphate levels had increased significantly and required we were actually able to do that retreatment within the last 2 weeks, and we are awaiting the actual water sampling results. Should be testing those again. And what my hypothesis is that we waited too long to treat the second time and too far along, and so that is one of the lessons we learned, that we may need to monitor more frequently. The second hypothesis, which our consultant made, was that the phosphate must be coming from somewhere, where we know that the well water creates high phosphate, or there is quite a bit of phosphate in the well water, and that may be reintroducing phosphates into the lake. So we do also know that water coming from the Yuba River is nearly phosphate. So if money were to go off, that regulations would not exist with that best approach. However, both of those are strengths. So at this point, we're looking at a new method of treatment, which is treatment right at the incoming water source as an option of treating the water at the well before it's versus bringing water in from the river. I think the other thing we are looking at is, can we somehow improve the circulation of the lake and push more water through the lake to not allow the phosphate levels to so our next step is to work with the consultant to see what the cost of capital and ongoing well, moving forward with regulators and technical folks on this to pull water from allow it to exit through jets. Ongoing process. I also asked the consultant as of today, this morning, when I looked at the lake, it's pretty ugly, what we can do in the short term, trying the visual mess that we see. So, not great news, but I do think we're learning.
I mentioned that the vice mayor and I are committed with city manager and the ad hoc committee. I'm working with two ad hoc committees that is on the marriages. And there is keen interest, one of those members, and on our part, still, you remember, you don't have to be an educated hydrologist to appreciate clear water coming, perfect, flowing through the lake and into Jack Slough, as it used to when I was a child. Is a pretty good solution. When I was a youngster, people were water skiing, and they weren't doing it, they fell in the water. It was fine. But as Mr. Shad has mentioned, the regulatory burden, folks that are ensconced in regulatory agencies are not quick to move if there's something like that. This week can be done. And that is, so we're working in parallel paths. One is we're working with Oslock managing it. And we've learned in that process, and that's entered into we might be able to make it that's right. That will require frequent testing and a constant application of this Oslock material in some situations. In parallel, we are indeed working with people trying to jump through the hoops to be able to bring water, which would require regulatory approvals, and it was not insignificant amount of cash, and we were hoping to be able to work to water agencies. So that's a very long work.
I just want to add on that, most of the public here will hear that lake was. It's always been thought that why don't we just pump from the river? Well, just a couple real quick things. We used to pump through one of the storm drains and pumped it into the lake. Now we can't do that. The state won't allow us to pump it through the storm drain. It has to be individual, dedicated. So right there is one of the faults. The permitting is not like, it's not the only thing to get the water to pump in. It okay if we dump it out at the other end. We got to get the permit that all this thing about. So the infrastructure that is there between the river and the lake, some of it's not even intact. So in the past, it just came up, let's put the pump on. It's just not that simple. But we are working on all the possibilities, including how we can do that for the future.
If I may, even if we did have the infrastructure attached to the city, the river has changed. The river's changed. And the location of the existing pump, it doesn't get deep enough to draw water now. So that needs to be removed. And in fact, we've identified another location. And the pathway from that location to the city is through private property. And the owner of that property is there giving in terms of saying, please run it through here. Real good citizens and support of the city. So there are some things to smile about. Again, we need to make more progress in the resources. Moving ahead, council correspondence.
None for this meeting, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. Any comments or requests from the council? None here. Next meeting will be Tuesday, September 6th, 2022 at 6 p.m. After the close of this session, we will go to the closed session. And the closed session, Madam Chair, please do this. Jump off over your text.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. After the closed session, the city council will leave the council chambers and the meeting will be adjourned by operation of law due to lack of a quorum. If there's any reportable closed session action, a report will be made at the beginning of the next regular council meeting. I ask that after the closed session item descriptions are read by the mayor, that all members of council, applicable consultants, and staff join the closed session meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. So,
I didn't know there is. Hey.
Brad Hudson, catch it.
Oh, I'll try few items, the two new fire apparatus, wildland fires are in the state. They're in Sacramento, having ammunition federals put on them. So we expect them to be ready to be deployed. We are having some issues with radio procurement, a little bit of backlog, which we're getting used to due to the shipping and marketing. The fire chief recruitment has closed and interviews are pending, moving along, as well as the public works director position. We got a significant number of fire chief applicants. How many were there?
There were 28 applicants, which have been whittled down to 17 that we will review tomorrow.
Very good turnout there. The public works director, a little less than 5 total. That's better than we did last year. So optimistic. On traffic enforcement, we have been ramping up our enforcement. So police staff has been out in primarily northwest area, pulling over, citing semi trucks for driving on truck routes. Seen them active out in that area. Many of you may have seen a Blight article put out by Democrat, and I just wanted to let the council know that we are really in the downtown area. Focus. We will have through warnings and then necessary citations on broken and boarded windows, speeds, and graffiti. That's where we're starting. What are downtown.
If I may, city attorney has been tasked with looking at potential for legislation with some sort of penalty or tax with respect to blind property. Could we get a report on that status?
Yeah, that's the research is about 90% we have. This part of the task, you can probably
amount of tax. Property foul. So that's, people summarize arguments. Thank you. And generally speaking, we are also looking at penalties for not addressing blight or repeat offenders of blight, and potentially recommending higher penalties or accelerated penalties. Moving on to more positive information. Full Block School is preparing for construction of a $20 million upgrade, new building on their facility. Both Dan and have looked at concept drawing and quite impressive. We would like them to make, including trees, potentially some other aesthetic issues. But you were out of excitement.
Just the color.
Oh, and color.
We fine tuned to the color and some additional trees.
How will that?
They have committed to a black hot iron fence. Good.
Let me ask you this, they were taking action, knew they were interested in having permanent, ownership of the street between their two blocks.
Yes, we're looking at that. My recommendation would be when it gets to the council, will likely be to not relinquish our ownership, but perhaps enter in this kind of long-term agreement to allow that to be closed 20%. A little bit different topic, dancing with the stars. Here we go. With our chief of police, one of those stars at our box. You know what time it is? 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. So if you don't have tickets, see the chief. The night we won't want to miss. That's for sure. I've heard a lot about it every single day. Another item, sewer project commissioning. We had a pre-bid walkthrough today for the construction. I didn't call it construction, moving things. So, good turnout. And we'll be involved and then light repairs. Have somebody in the audience very interested in light repairs?
Yes.
We have finished about half of the initial list of the streetlights that were out, causes, and work on those. And they actually repaired a few at the cemetery, which is good. That is about it.
I apologize for skipping that earlier, sir. Okay. Now, we will adjourn the closed session.
No, we won't. No. You have to,
We have a
give
hand raised.
future appointment.
I have a question about penalties for vandalism, specifically along East Street. This past Monday, 3 windows were broken along between 5th and 6th Street. Well, 2 big windows and all glass broke down 1 door. Next day, another window was broken out of what had been D&D site. With the state theater. I'm not allowed to board up windows. Some of these windows cost in excess of $10,000. police department can't prevent this. They're unmanned, and there's no, very little prevent. Will the city finally let me roll up doors over these front windows, paint them whatever color you want? On the one hand, there's an ordinance that I have to secure the building. On the other hand, if I board it up, I'm fine. We paid off penalties and interest to the tune in excess of $98,000 over this sort of thing previously. I don't want this to start over again, but I can't be replacing windows every week and doors. I can't board them up. At some point, I need to be able to put bullet doors there. Prevent.
If I may, sir, you bring up a problem. Are you in contact with city officials on dealing with this problem?
I've been playing contact with Dan Flores sometimes.
Well, he's right here.
For years, they've been trying to do anything, and they wouldn't allow any kind of security. We were fighting for the plywood that put over the frontboard by the fire department.
You know, I understand the problem, and
Happy to speak to that, Mr. Mayor, anytime. I'm guessing who you are, because you came in the other day, but if you would contact me so we can set an appointment to meet. I know that you dropped in and I wasn't here at the moment that you came by, but I'd love to meet with you and go over these issues.
we're going to be adjourning here pretty quick. Close session, you might be able to set
We've
one
been
up.
fixing, rail trucks, more fines and stuff, and I'm catching this.
No, I understand, and we'll be responsive, to what you're talking about. And Mr. Dan Forrest is a wonderful person. He is a positive problem solver, and I recommend a conversation with him as a first step in solve which okay, thank you. Okay. During close.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
On the items to be considered in closed session.
Not tonight, Mayor. Not tonight.
Back on track here, thank you. First item that will be considered in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. Conference with labor negotiators, Jim Shad, Patrick Clark, regarding the following bargaining units, Teamster individual police officers, associations for those non-sport, Marysville Firefighters Association, and the Midland Executive. Next item will be considered separately in closed session. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation. Division Government Code Section 54956.9. Name of the case: Jason Garinger, sister versus City of Marysville City Council, in the City of Marysville. James Shad, and those, and it's a county superior court case number CBT 22-1650. And the next item we consider separately, pursuant to Government Code Section 549, conference of the legal counsel system litigation. paragraph, five, subdivision, section 5.6.9, in the case, City of Bridgeville versus California Department of Transportation, that all petitions will be mandate in Yuba County Superior Court. Thank you.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe, with lessons, in person and personalized. Instruments including guitars and amps, horns, strings for instruments, and a myriad of music and sound equipment. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe.